Welcome back to Withdraw Consent. I'm Jack. Today I want to talk about MTG resigning. And this is related to 1 week ago today, the episode that I did on Massey and how important that race is. And what I want to kind of point out here is that Trump is representing the establishment and he's trying to now oust people who are actually trying to make America great again, which is a totally different than his previous positions. So let me pull up this table for you, okay? So I want to talk about how different this situation is than before, where before he was trying to oust neocon establishment people in Congress and bring in MAGA or America First people. So he's not been as successful as you would think. Like they play it like he's wildly successful at primarying people, and he's not necessarily true. Now, I couldn't find a great reference on this, so I'm just going to pull up a table that's produced by the AI, so it might not be 100% accurate, but it's going to be paint a pretty good picture. So here it is here. So in 2016, he didn't try to get any incumbents out because he was focused on winning his election. In 2018, he tried to oust 5 incumbents, and he lost every single one of those, including Senator Bob Corker, okay? In 2020, he tried to oust 3 people, incumbents, and he had 0% success. Bill Weld is an example there. In 2022, he tried to get 10 incumbents ousted, and he did get 6 of them ousted. This was his best year, which he had a 60% success rate, including Madison Cawthorn. We're going to get into Liz Cheney. We're going to get into that in a second. In 2024, he tried to oust 4 people, and he had 0 success, including Representative Mike Lawler. He had 0% success rate. So overall, his he tried to get 22 incumbents out, and he succeeded at 6 of them. So his overall success rate is 27%. Not as high as you would think, because I'm not going to play you like MTG's speech or Donald. You've already seen all that. You know, it's just I'm giving you my take on this. And So a primary challenge from Trump is not incredibly threatening. It's 27% likely to get you ousted. So the difference we see here is in 2022, let's not talk Madison Cawthorn. Let's talk an easy example, Liz Cheney. Trump comes out and says, Liz Cheney is terrible. She's establishment. You know, she was on the January 6th committee. She's pro-war. She's pro all the corporations and the lobbies and this and that. Hey, why don't you vote her out? And the people look at it and say, you know what? Yeah, let's vote her out and let's do it in astronomical. Let's make her lose by a wild percentage. Easy. It's easy because you're telling us, hey, you need to get rid of that person, and we're like, yeah, nah, that person's terrible, right? Now the situation is different. Now the situation is take the best people in Congress. Take the people in Congress who want the Epstein Files released. Because remember, Trump's completely against that until they forced him to, because they were mutinying. They forced him. We already covered that. Or say Trump says, oh, we need to send more money to Israel. And they're like, why don't we spend the money in America? Oop, got to get them kicked out because he's the establishment now. He says, we got to go to war in Venezuela. And they're like, wait, isn't our whole platform that we're not non-interventionists, that we're not intervening in foreign wars to spend a ton of money there and get trapped in a slog? And nope, it's the pro-war. This is the pro-war Trump we're seeing. And even you look at the Venezuela situation, it's wild. They say like, look, it's the fentanyl, you know? Look, they're killing Americans, the fentanyl. And then we look and we say like, well, I mean, there's 0 fentanyl coming from Venezuela. And they're like, oh, yeah, okay, fine. It's Hezbollah. They literally said because they're related to Hezbollah in Lebanon, right? And we're like, nah, that's not true either. And if they were linked to Hezbollah, we don't care because we're not pro-Israel. We just don't care, you know? And they're like, okay, well, affordability. Okay, I'm listening because I like affordability. I just bought a 10-pound roll of meat of ground beef and it was $46. And I know the wife buys it recently, so I haven't bought it in months. But the previous time I bought it, it was $32, $33. And I noticed that my wages have not gone up by 33%. So when the price of meat, even though they say the price of meat's up 15%, when I see that actually with my own eyes that it's up 33% and my wages are stagnant because, you know, all types of reasons. Anyways, and okay, I'm listening on affordability, and they say, well, we get all this oil. If we just destroy the sovereignty of this country and then overthrow their elected leader, whether their election was in doubt, that's a whole different story. But it's their country to run as they want, obviously. You know, they can overthrow them if they want, like, without our help. And then they say affordability, you know, and it's like, well, we can get the oil. And then we look at it and we're like, well, I mean, Maduro has already offered his oil. He's offered his oil. And if we did get all of this oil, what would happen? The price of oil would go down. I mean, that would be good. Transportation costs would go down and drilling in the United States would stop, because now the price of barrel of oil is low enough that it's not profitable to drill anymore. So anyways, that would have great effect on the American economy. On the American worker. It would actually positively affect the American economy by just stripping jobs from the United States, Anyways, and you look at that and you're like, these candidates are against that. And he's like, well, I've got to get you out of office. The candidates like MTG and Massey, he's got to get them out of office so that he can put in candidates who are more of yes men to the strategy of intervening in areas of the country and areas of the world that we don't want him to intervene. We don't need to intervene. We're not in a threat from Venezuela. The drug boats that are 2,000 kilometers from the closest U.S. port and don't have the range to reach the United States, and you're just blowing them up randomly. And then the one time that there were survivors, there was 3 survivors, and we had to send them back to Venezuela because they were fishermen. So, there's that, but like, this is just ridiculous. And the candidate who's saying, hey, we don't want that, so that candidate's kind of representing me and my opinions, right? And Trump says, no, we got to oust them to get a yes man in, to get a yes man who will do what the establishment says, to engage in more wars, to give more money to foreign countries, anyways. So this is just what I want to point out to you, is that when we're watching the political situation moving forward, what matters to me is, are you trying to get more establishment candidates kicked out of the Congress, which is good, or are you trying to get more establishment Congress people put into Congress, and obviously, it's clear which one the people of the United States side on. And so the loss of MTG it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous this has happened. If she had done the primary challenge, I think that it's possible that she could have won. It's highly possible based on Trump's 27%. And then based on her doing so good with the Epstein Files and all that, but you would have had, the foreign money coming into it. And we've talked about that before. We would have the whole situation with Massey, and I'm rooting for Massey, to hang in there. But I do understand her position, because now she's been betrayed by Trump, who she was with from the beginning. And she's just, like she said, the battered wife. And she's just wondering if it'll stop, and he's not stopping. And he just seems to have gone insane. And then it's like, and then if you do win the primary, then you're defending Donald Trump against impeachment, because he's doing so terrible in Congress, so absolutely terrible. Remember, this is his only 2 years right here. This is representative of the first 2 years. So, 17 to 19, but people call it 16 to 18, but it's early 17 to early 19, when he had both chambers of Congress and he has the chance to pass laws. This is his time. And it's quickly fading away as he's losing members of the very narrowly divided House of Representatives. He's losing them. This is his only 2 years. Because in the following 2 years, the last half of his second administration, it's going to be full Democrat control, I imagine, of the Congress, which means he's going to be impeached. That's just it. And so she would be stuck in, and there's plenty of things to impeach him for. Plenty. And don't get me wrong, he's done good on the border, and the tariffs have, caused my meat price to go up 33%. So that's fantastic, wages are still the same. The border, that's all we got. Literally, that's all we've got. And I appreciate it, because we were totally getting invaded, but like this is a catastrophe, and he's going to get impeached. And maybe in prison, likely imprisoned, unless he pardons himself on the way out. And she would just have to sit in the House and defend the guy that's called her Marjorie Taylor Greene. His position he's put himself in is just absolutely untenable. And he's just totally, when before this election, okay, we were just, thinking about how things were going, and we were like, they're not going to let Trump win. Okay. If you have watched a video in Georgia, which I've downloaded onto my hard drive and an external hard drive, because everybody lies and just says that the 2020 election was legitimate now. Yeah, we've literally got the video of them telling the poll watchers to go away and then pulling boxes out from underneath the table, that they had hid before the election even started. Whatever. So you see that evidence, and you see it, 2020 wasn't legit, right? Well, then how could they let him win in 2024? How could that be a thing? And the only way you could think that they would let him win, because the people will vote for him. The people will vote him in. It's will they let him in? based on, whether they're going to rig the election or not. And we just hypothesize, like, unless he took a deal. Like, if he took a deal, then they'll let him in with very limited powers. Then when you look at what's going on and you look at, well, I mean, his part of the deal must have been he's going to actually secure the border. And then he's just going to do everything else they say, because he's just acting as a complete operative of the establishment, of the corporations, of the lobbies, of foreign countries. He's acting against the interests of Congress people who have his original agenda at heart, to make America great again. Because Massey's not even a MAGA. Remember, Massey's just a libertarian. But if your political position, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, is doing the right thing for this country, Massey will be on board with you. Massey will jump on board with Democrats if they're going to lower the deficit in a responsible way, right? If the Republicans are going to lower the deficit, because remember, he's got the little ticker on his thing here, and it's just ticking the deficit, 38 trillion, just ticking away. And back to the argument that Trump took the deal. If you want to go down that rabbit hole, the best indication of that is look at Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. Okay, so I've watched Kash Patel prior and post, him become the FBI director. Dan Bongino is an idealist. So Dan Bongino really, really wanted to go in there and do the right thing. I don't know Kash Patel's heart. Like, I'm giving you my opinion. Dan Bongino really wanted to do the right thing. The fact that both of them get in there and they could do absolutely nothing, and they're just quoting the establishment line on literally everything. They said Epstein trafficked women and young girls to nobody but himself, that he did hang himself. And there were, there were no other people that he was trafficking to. They literally will say this. They say, there were no video cameras on Epstein Island. We have pictures of the rooms with the video cameras. We have news articles about the video cameras with pictures of the rooms with, no, FBI position is Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. No video cameras at Epstein Island, right? Just don't believe your lying eyes. Or you could go to the Charlie Kirk thing. You could go to a variety of topics with the FBI, but you could just tell whether because see, I don't doubt Dan Bongino's intentions to go in there and do the right thing. I don't know about Kash. He made a convincing case that he was going to, but whatever it is, they're all working for the establishment. That's just where we're at, honestly. And if that's the case, goes back to my original position from episode 4 of this entire channel. So go back 400 episodes ago. I made that up about number 4. I don't know. It was close to the beginning. There's no solution within the system. There's not. Because if you say, well, Jack, you could do it. You become president. And I bet you I couldn't. Based on what I'm seeing right now, I'll bet you I couldn't. Because however they're running it, however they're bringing Dan Bongino to heel and making him do just everything the establishment does, I can't comprehend it. I don't know what it is. Is it blackmail? Is it MK Ultra? Whatever it is, it's successful. That's all we know. It works. And if that's the case, there's no candidate who's going to come out who we're going to like populist uprising. Let's everybody 99% vote for him. And then we're going to get the same old stuff. Anyways, no solution within the system. Trump, wildly disappointing. Wildly disappointing. Anyways, that's what I got for you guys. I'll leave it at that for today. On Thursday, I want to point out and talk about all the special treatment being given to Ghislaine Maxwell, because that also goes to the same point that I'm making in this episode. And I just think if we go down the list of all the things she's got, it's going to be ridiculous. And people aren't pointing to it enough. They should be pointing to it because it's terribly damning for Trump's entire administration and everybody involved. Anyways, that's what I got for you. See you on Thursday.